136.8 kilometers north of the equator, at the southern end of the Straits of Malacca, marks the hub of Southeast Asia, geographic position of the island of Singapore. Only 620 kilometers square, the island of Singapore today has changed radically since the colonial era. Enlightened leadership over the past 20 years has produced a climate of economic stability, which, together with sophisticated planning and physical development on a large scale, have resulted in a progressive, forward-thinking country that ranks among the Southeast Asian leaders. Intensive investment and commercial development have also given birth to exciting and imaginative building projects of every type and size, creating a revolutionary new island skyline of multi-story hotels, offices and flats, making the need for landscaping and the planting of trees and shrubs essential to the Singapore of today. Prior to 1960, old Singapore roads had no planned provision for tree planting. There were no verges or space for any to be included. It was one of several areas at the time that needed examination on a very broad basis. An imaginative concept by the Prime Minister, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, in 1963, raised a variety of such subjects for urgent attention, which led to the study and creation of a Garden City Action Committee by the Ministry of National Development. The Garden City Action Committee consisted of key people directly involved in the physical development of Singapore in the Public Works, Planning Department, and Parks and Recreations. Formed to study the urgent problems created by rapid clearance of forest areas for urbanization and industrialization, the group realized from the very beginning that the need to balance and replenish the sudden loss of greenery throughout the island would require careful study, as well as imaginative and artistic handling. It was an ambitious project, and in order to be effective, the proposed program required expert help and guidance from botanists and horticulturists. It also required carefully planned financial commitments for the continuance and future development of parks and recreation schemes. Additionally, large nursery capability had to be created in order to cope with the foreseen demand for shrubs, plants and trees. And this, in turn, needed careful monitoring to supply the enormous numbers of plant varieties desirable for such an island-wide project. The Ministry's Parks and Recreation Department moved ahead. As part of the planning development, new policies for tree planting and verges were quickly formulated and implemented. In this aim, the development of instant angsana tree has proved to be highly successful, transported from its nursery to be planted in a variety of island sites, like this one at Changi Airport. The method enables new areas presently devoid of foliage to quickly develop into lush green parks in a very short time, and allows landscaping to progress side by side with construction. At first, they encountered a multitude of problems, which demanded close study in order to achieve the desired results. Among them were proper plant growth, in which aeration is an important factor. Trees need plenty of room to grow, and it was decided that tree aeration could be further improved on footpaths, roadside tables and car parks throughout the island. As a result, asphalt car parking lots have been replaced with loose slabs to allow tree roots to breathe properly and allow more greenery to appear. These slabs are also more attractive to look at.
Yeah, big one. Just you chop a little bit more. Sure.
Once some of these problems had been overcome, a new menace presented itself. Insects. They threatened to destroy foliage and new shoots shortly after planting, a situation which demanded urgent attention. Insect treatment schemes were quickly implemented, and after a short while proved completely effective.
It's a small grub. You just put it inside the plastic and then stick it back. You look a bit like of a longhorn beetle. I think it is the same as the one looking at going this.
Once this setback was overcome, the project began to gain momentum dramatically. More and more programs were initiated and plans developed for new regional parks near to population centers, as well as those in the process of construction. Members of the public were beginning to see and experience for themselves the efforts of the Parks and Recreation Department. Fragrant shrubs and scented flowers to create a more colorful and exotic environment were planted alongside roads and pedestrian malls, together with flowering trees to enhance safe walkways and shady roads. To create a more interesting city landscape, various types of flowering climbers and new species of ornamental plants have been recently introduced. At locations like this flyover at Jalan Toapayoh and around these lampposts along East Coast Parkway. Concrete bridges like this will soon be covered by attractive creeping plants and flowering shrubs. Everything at the Parks and Recreation Department began to take shape, in a program which now required more workers to keep pace with its growing demands. In addition to the workers, trained specialists in a variety of areas became increasingly essential to the scheme. Many overseas trained officers were recruited, and these, together with the training of horticultural assistants at the School of Ornamental Horticulture in the Botanic Gardens, formed the nucleus required. This was supported by research teams, and an active as well as essential role in quality improvement. Plant breeding and experiments in new overseas species became a reality. New plant varieties, including more exotic species from overseas, were subjected to the home environment for use in the future.
And on set, the cuttings are then transplanted into soil. How do the workers do this?
We take out the cuttings, and once they have more roots, we plant them out into the pots with soil.
And how long?
We'll keep it there for about a couple of months.
And then after a couple of months, it's growing into a plant like this. How old would this one be?
About 1 year old.
1 year. And it's now reached flowering. This, I believe, you told me, is the first time it's flowered in Singapore.
Yes.
It must be very nice for you to produce this in the nursery.
Singapore has long been an important orchid producing center in Southeast Asia, exporting to many countries throughout the world. Therefore, it's appropriate that a local hybrid, Vanda Miss Joachim, a thoroughbred of great beauty and exceptional coloring, has been adopted as the country's national flower. Recent developments in the use of meristem tissue culture to propagate clones of high-quality orchid hybrids and ornamental plants have been very successful. Many new varieties have been introduced, and expeditions to discover even better ones continue. Since the inception of the Garden City campaign, over 500,000 trees and 3 million shrubs and assorted plants have been successfully planted. The follow-up maintenance for such a comprehensive program involves some very basic but vital support systems. Like this watering tanker, part of a fleet that visit many locations around the island, giving plants, shrubs and trees their daily supply of pond water. Weeding, usually carried out by teams of workers on a regular basis, is also most important. Making the soil more productive for healthy plant growth, manuring is an essential part of the treatment. Chemical fertilizers and organic fertilizers, such as compost and sludge, are widely used in Singapore. Pruning, here, supervised by a horticulturist, maintains growth at the desired rate in the correct manner. Pest control spraying, not to be underestimated, is also an important support system, seen here at Changi Airport car park. Liming, soil testing and improvement. This practice is also vital to the planting programs. Since Singapore soils are mainly clay and acidic in nature, they must be supplemented by liming and the use of organic fertilizers. Included, as part of the maintenance support, problems such as leaf fall, tree fall, trimming and cutting of shrubs and bushes are all handled by the regular workforce. But in special circumstances, emergency gangs are on standby, prepared at a moment's notice to go anywhere on the island. Today, statutory boards such as the Housing and Development Board and Jurong Town Corporation work in close cooperation with the Parks and Recreation Department to ensure that new estates are well landscaped with abundant trees and shrubs. As a new addition, a variety of fruit trees is being planted in public housing estates throughout the island. It's planned to continue planting fruit trees on a large scale in the immediate future. These will provide residents the opportunity of growing and caring for fruit trees on their own estates, reaping the rewards of their labor. Besides, they provide an interesting environment amongst the high-rise apartments, keeping areas cool and noise-absorbing, whilst helping to control pollution. Inside the apartment blocks, plants in window boxes and flower pots can easily be cultivated. Many flats have most attractive flower and creeper arrangements, which introduce color and atmosphere into the lives of the families and children who live there. Independent architects and planners in the private sector also work closely with the Parks and Recreation Department in the landscape design and planning of housing estates and industrial complexes. Some of the best examples can be seen in the service sector, such as the hotels. Ways in which imaginative landscaping can enhance and beautify one's surroundings are also seen in several private establishments. As ambassadors to the many visitors and tourists who pass through and holiday in Singapore, these exciting and visual examples are a tribute to the companies who've taken the time and made the effort to beautify their surroundings. Wherever possible, members of the general public are encouraged to develop an understanding and appreciation of what is being done in the horticultural field. This takes the form of evening classes to stimulate individual potential and interest, helping to generate the imagination of amateurs so they can participate in their own way and make full use of their talents by complementing nature. We have to live in a high-rise environment, but there is no need for us to be immersed by concrete. Utilizing one's imagination, flat, dull surfaces can and have been transformed into visually beautiful scenes. These harsh concrete retaining walls have been successfully screened by the planting of creepers. The result? A pleasant green mantle which softens the concrete surface and gives a softer look. Led by the Prime Minister, every first Sunday in November is marked by an annual tree planting event. It's a pleasurable way of reminding the public of the constant need to create and preserve trees and shrubs in order to obtain the clean, healthy environment desired by everyone. Another popular event is the Horticultural and Aquarium Fish Show, which enjoys a good response from members of the public, young and old alike. Its primary function is to promote gardening interest among everyone, inducing new living standards by demonstrating how ornamental plants and flowers contribute to and supplement our everyday culture in the most meaningful manner. Our country's future is based on sound social and ecological principles, whilst it is mindful of the commercial essentials the demands of modern living place upon us all. With the development of more and more land for housing and industrial purposes, the careful preservation and cultivation of lungs in a city environment becomes increasingly important. Today, all about us, we can see the fruits of the government's labors, and the way nature has been complemented and encouraged in a number of heavily populated areas. Land once washed by the sea only a few years ago has been turned into reclaimed landscaped parks and gardens, designed for the relaxation and leisure of our people. year 2000 will find us all with more time to pursue our individual recreations. It's very likely this need will be reflected in the desire to do so amidst surroundings of beauty and tranquility, away from the concrete jungles of modern commerce that threaten to engulf us. Perhaps in the future, many of the delightful southern offshore islands may develop into weekend resorts. There are endless possibilities for the future happiness and prosperity of our people. At schools and colleges throughout the island, children are learning to cultivate the art of appreciation in nature, supplementing their knowledge of life by planting trees and shrubs. Because of the dedicated artistic efforts of the Ministry of National Development, Singaporeans, their families, friends, and overseas visitors can today enjoy some of the most attractively designed green city environs ever offered to members of the public anywhere in the world. The Singapore of today is a planned and prosperous one that looks forward to the future with confidence. With everyone's help, we can achieve even more ambitious projects for our garden city.